Hey YouTube, it's John with the Must Have Rush channel. Today we are working on this mid-century chest of drawers, and from this angle it looks pretty good. The wood's not too chipped up or anything. Up top we have a different story. It looks like some cigarette burns, and if that was the end of it, I would probably try to sand these out and fade it away. But over here we've got some real damage. It's like the nail that held on this piece of trim shot out the other side. So this is tore up, and the same thing happened over here. So we've got a piece that on a couple of the faces is pretty good, but on the sides it's obviously shot. So what I'm going to do is show you how to rescue this, leave a lot of the mid-century character, leave the wood as this focal point, but address some things like this. So step one, we're going to fill this with some epoxy. Then we're going to paint the entire body of the cabinet and then put some oil on the faces to restore it and see how that looks. I think we can get away with saving this piece, bringing it back to life without doing a whole paint job. All right, I have some filler here. Just going to go over that. And try to get a good application without too much excess. Same thing on this side. Maybe a little bit more. Don't want to create work for ourselves, but don't want to leave it undone. Okay. Fortunately, these are the only two issues on the body. The rest of it's straight. You know, the finish is a little tired. The cigarette burns. This would be a real shame to have to paint all over and lose the mid-century character. Plus, you have really straight lines. On the surface, people would think that's a good thing, but keeping straight lines clean without drips, runs, brush strokes is a challenge. So I think the less you have to paint here, the better. The more apt you are to get a really, really clean finish. The hardware I really like. It's not real brass, so it's a bit tired and pitted. And I'll show you. What I did was just hit it with a little gold paint, and that should bring it back enough to make the piece look brand new. He had a sudden downpour of rain, so we had to move inside. But got this patch filled in and sanded, and I'm filling in a couple of small cracks with some lighter, just regular wood putty. Here we've broken through the top coat. This is the raw wood showing. Normally, this is where I'd be preaching using a oil-based primer to keep these tannins from coming through, but since this piece is going to get painted black, I'm not worried about that. I'm actually much more worried about these little cracks and divots and dings, because the black will make those show up. So this is one of those rare instances where I'm not preaching priming, but I am still very concerned about my prep work. So we've started the paint. We've got a roller because we're going to try to cut down on any brush strokes, and I find that this does a really good job. The paint also has a lot of self-leveling properties, which I love for these big, wide, flat areas. And I also like this black. It doesn't detract from the mid-century. The purist would say, oh, why would you paint wood? But you know, there was a reason why we had to paint the wood. And this complements rather than contrasts. And the black is also covering really well. So it'll probably take a couple of coats, but it's definitely made a huge difference so far. Right here were a couple of spots we had to putty. Looks like they're not going to show up through the black, which was a concern of mine. The tops always get seen. Everything shows up on the top. But it looks like it's going to cover and be slick. This is like putting a new tuxedo on the piece. It's black and elegant and clean lines and still mid-century as can be. I think you'll ever have your mid-century cred questioned by bringing a piece new life that was so damaged by adding a neutral color like this. I think it's going to come out wonderfully. First coat is on, it's dry, it's starting to tack up and flash off. Here's one of the drawers. This is the newly painted pool. And here are the originals. So it's much better improvement, new to old, and that's just a can of spray paint. The second coat's been applied, the wood has been renewed, the pools have been painted. Here's the final product.